Shalom. In the last part, that's part 7, we discussed how 1 plus 4 fits into 5, the crystal of creation. 5 was related to 50, the Jubilee, and related to the 500, which is the entry point into the next world. And how the 500 was actually the geometrical value of Pru Urubu, meaning be fruitful and multiply. Now I want to go back a step and look at the number 8 and how the number of 8, or the significance of the number 8, and then how it relates to the 50 and the 500. So let's look at the number 8. 8 in Hebrew is shmone, and it's the geometrical value of the letter chet. Now, the interesting thing about shmone is that it has the same root. In Hebrew, you have roots to a word, which is normally comprised of 3 letters. In the case of shmone, it's shin, the sh sound, mem, the m sound, and n, which is the nun. So shin, mem, nun are the letters or the roots comprising shmone. So here we can see the shmone, 8, written as shmone in Hebrew. This is the Hebrew writing, shin, mem, vav, which is the o sound, nun, and he, shmo, o, ne. The root is shin, mem, nun, which I've itemized in red. The interesting thing about shin, mem, nun is that it has the same root as oil. The word for oil in Hebrew is shemen, again, shin, mem, nun. In fact, the word for anointing oil is masach, which is related to Messiah, but we can talk about that at another time. The value, the geometrical value of shemen, shin, mem, nun, shin is 300, mem is 40, nun is 50, so it's 390. Now, let's have a look at this point here. The word for heaven in Hebrew is shemaim. Shemaim, it doesn't have that root structure, although it's similar. It's written shin, mem, yod, mem. That's the final form of the letter mem. So here shemaim is 300 for shim, mem is 40, yod is 10, and the final mem is also 40. If we add those up, again we get 390. So here we see a link between the number 8, having the root letters of oil, which is related to anointing oil, which is related to Messiah, and oil is related to heaven. When we get to the section talking about the story of Jacob's ladder, we will see this very, very significantly, but I will not go into that in detail now. So this whole issue of the 8th day of the circumcision, the 8th day of the circumcision where there's a covenant between man and God. The circumcision through the organ which produces seed for the next generation gives this concept of renewal, and therefore there is a link between the 8th day and the process of renewal which we saw in the 5, the 50 and the 500. Pru Urubu, be fruitful and multiply. There is a link between 8, 50 and 500. And we'll see this in the following discussion. But 8 is not only unique to the circumcision, it appears in several different occasions. The first occasion is actually after the circumcision, at the time of the flood, when we are told, or Noah is told, that never again will God bring waters upon the earth to destroy life, and as a covenant between man and God, between heaven and earth, he will set a rainbow in the sky. Rainbow in Hebrew is keshet. So the word keshet, rainbow, is spelled kuf shin taf. Kuf with a value of 100, shin 300, taf 400, and if you add them up together you come to 800. So again we see the 8 reappearing. The 8 reappearing in this case, in this instant, it's a centane higher than the 8 that we saw in the covenant with Abraham and the circumcision on the 8th day. Here you have 800, which is reaching onto a spiritual level. So 800, renewal, recycle, 50, 500, 5, the crystal of creation, it starts coming together. Where else does 8 appear in the Bible or in the Hebrew traditions? We have in the case of Hanukkah, which is the celebration of overcoming the Maccabees, process of Hellenization. 8 days of Hanukkah. The word Hanukkah actually means renewal, and we light lamps or candles, oil lamps, for 8 days. Again, oil is the key aspect of Hanukkah, and as we saw previously, oil is linked to heaven, which is linked to 8. Shmoneh, Shemin, Shemaim. 8 appears in the festival called Simchat Torah. It's when we begin to read the first 5 books of Moses over again. It occurs on the day after the ending of the festival of the Tabernacles, Sukkot, and we begin the whole cycle of reading the 5 books in 1 year, and on that day we read the first verse, which is Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, in the beginning. So 8 appears there. Just in matter on the side, actually in astrology the 8th house is Scorpio, and Scorpio is also a sign of death and rebirth. So again, this idea of recycle, renewal. But what we haven't answered here is why 8? Why not 6? Why not 5? Why not 17, 24? And here we go back to look at the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments states, 6 days shall you do labor, and the 7th day you shall rest. The implications is that you have to work for 6 days, and then you rest on the 7th day. What is the 7th day? The 7th day, the Sabbath. It's the day of rest. It means basically the 7th day is the same as any other day in the week or in the year. The sun rises, the sun sets. But on the 7th day, we create a space in time. We create it by not going shopping, not going to the cinema, not fixing the car. We raise ourselves to a higher spiritual level on that day. It is for this reason, on the blessing of the Friday night meal, we carry out a blessing on the wine. Wine rises the spirit to this higher level. But the seventh day is not an end to itself. We do not work for 6 days just in order to rest on the seventh day, or just in order to rise up to a higher spiritual level. The purpose of the seventh day is to bring ourselves towards to prepare ourselves for the eighth day. The eighth day is the next world. It's the renewal. It's the process of change, the process of rebirth, of being reborn. Let's take this concept of linking 8 to 50 a little bit further. In simple mathematics, the link between the seventh day and the eighth day is simply 7 plus 1 is 8. On the same basis, the link to the 50th day is that 7 times 7, which is 49, plus 1 is equal to 50. Now, let's look at this in terms of Jewish tradition. We have the Jubilee year called the Yuvel, or Yuval. It's the 50th year. And it says in Leviticus 25, and you shall count 7 Sabbaths of years, means 7 times 7. And then this will be 49 years. And you shall then hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land. It shall be a jubilee to you. You shall return every man to his possession, every man to his family. You shall not sow in the 50th year, nor reap in the 50th year. It is a jubilee, and it shall be holy to you. The concept of the 50th year is the concept of return. If a man has sold his land, the person he has sold the land to has to return it to him on the 50th year. This doesn't mean the 50th year, 50 years after he has sold it. It means the 50th year, even if he sold it the year beforehand, he has to return it on the 50th year, the following year. So 50 is the idea of return. It's the concept of return, the concept of 7 times 7 plus 1. Interesting enough, if we look in Tibetan Buddhism, where they have the concept of reincarnation, when a person dies, he is in Bardo for 49 days, and then on the 50th day he is reborn again into the next life. So in other religions as well, this idea of 49 and 50 renewal also exists. In the I Ching, which is a Chinese oracle written about 700 BCE, in the process of divination of the I Ching, one uses yarrow sticks, 50 yarrow sticks, of which you take 49 and return the 1 back to the beginning. So again, in Chinese theology, is the idea of 50 is the concept of return. So here in this section, what we have seen is the significance of the number 8, how that number 8 relates to the process of return, how it relates to a covenant between man and God, how it relates to the Jubilee, how it relates to the process of procreation, of being fruitful and multiplying.